The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
Tell you an amazing story. Matzah Shabbos, 5.5 years ago. I got a call. My mother, Elazar Shalom, was rushed to the hospital. It was her final time going into Sloan Kettering Memorial Hospital in Manhattan. And I ran there to the hospital to be told by the doctor that she doesn't have much time left at all. The doctor said an hour. Turns out she had longer than that, about a day. But a day where she was completely not conscious anymore. And the entire family, it's long yarn, they all came from all sides. My siblings-in-law, my aunts, my uncles, my mother's brothers and sisters, and friends and others, and everybody came. And my mother was such a beloved person that over the course of that day, a few hundred people came to her room in Sloan to say goodbye to a woman who was more on that next world than in this world. But that's what it was. We stayed through the night, and then again through the next day, and she was nifteris the next night about 1 a.m. So it was that Matzah Shabbos, and there were probably about that first in the beginning. The hospital wasn't letting that many people into the room at once. We had to go in pairs, and then they let 3-4 of us in, and then eventually, which is a story for another day, they said we can all go in. But most of us were waiting outside on that floor. It was 5th, 6th, 7th floor. I don't remember what it was. Waiting outside in the waiting room, just waiting for an opportunity to be able to go in. And it was through the night, and the Olam was tired, and the Olam was hungry. It was after a Shabbos, and 50, 60 people in the waiting room just sitting there through the night. And on the other side of the room, there was a family. They were not Jewish people, from somewhere down south, according to their accent. And they were crying, and they apparently had somebody there also who was on their way to a better place. All right. So at some point in the night, one of my cousins decided that he's going to place an order at a local Jewish food store, I don't know what, and he ordered some trays of bagels with lox and donuts or danishes. I don't even remember what it was, because it wasn't, at that point, very interesting to me. But everybody who was there had food to eat. And when it was over, there was still some food left on the tray, and one of my uncles, Reb Shmuel Baruch Tress, takes the food, goes over to the family on the other side of the room, and he says, "You know what, I've seen you guys here all night. It looks like you're going through a hard time. I'm sure you're all hungry. Maybe I can interest you in something to eat." And these poor people must have been there forever. They were famished, and they fell upon that food like hungry wolves. They were so... And after they were done, one of them walks over to my uncle, and he says, "I got it." He says, "What do you got?" He says, "I figured it out." He says, "What did you figure out?" He says, "You must be the Jews." He said, yeah, like we kind of look like, and anybody who knows anything, this is what Jews look like. All of us have beards and payas and yarmulkes and the black and white motif. Yeah. He says, "What do you mean?" He says, "I've never met a Jew in my life. But this is what the Bible talks about, the Jews who do kindness. And you must be those Jews from the Bible." In other words, this fellow lived down south. He wasn't from Brooklyn. He wasn't from New York. He didn't know what a Yid looks like. He didn't know anything. He couldn't identify us by our yarmulkes, beards, and payas. So how did he identify us? He identified us by the stories in his Bible about how the Jewish people care for other people, what Abraham did. To him, he chapped. We are the Jews. It was a miracle discovery on his part. We are the Jews. That's an extreme example. But that's what every one of us has to do. Every one of us in our lives has to go through life, and people should look and say with favor, "There goes a Jew. There goes a Ben Avraham." That's what a Jew, that's what a person who lives by the dictates of that Bible looks like. That's our job. Atem Eidaynu Hashem.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org